What is happening? This is the Xbox Now podcast. I'm your host, Josh Schmidt, and I have a guest today, Riley. What is going on?
Not too much, man. How are you?
I am so good. I'm so good. So let's really get into the introduction here. How might we know you, Riley?
Oh, geez. Well, I've been in the industry for a long time, but you probably have seen my work at Walmart Canada Gaming. I run that social channel.
Got it. And what would Walmart Canada be known for?
There might have been a leak. Before my time, of course, but there might have been a leak. E3 2018, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think the world has branded us as infamous for that particular moment for sure.
Now you've had the opportunity to play off of that, right? Like as far as running that social media account.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think when I took on the account, it was something that you couldn't really ignore. It was bigger than Walmart at that point. It had already become so infamous with the brand, so it wasn't something you could pretend didn't happen or sweep it under the rug. And I think that embracing that also gave us a platform in order to speak to gamers and create a persona as well. And what I mean by that is like Walmart's known for leaks, so now we can play with. Well, I obviously don't want to leak content from our partners or anything like that, but we can be speculative with it. So if we know something's going on, like we'll talk about it. Or if we think something's happening, or for example, the Mario 3D collection was something that was rumored to be in the works. I have no foresight into these things. I'm just the social guy. But I can look at that and go, that might be true. It might not be true, but I know what games they're talking about. So let's focus on those and let's talk about those games because that's what people are talking about right now. So you can play into some of that aspect as well, and that's been a big part of what the Walmart Canada gaming brand is right now.
I see. I love it. And you really hit the nail on the head. You opened a door because I mean, otherwise, I feel like if you hadn't leveraged that, the Walmart gaming. And correct me if I'm wrong, or jump in here, but I feel like it would be a tough nut to crack to get in with gamers on Twitter just from the name Walmart alone.
Yeah, I mean, there are certain challenges with different brands. I was very fortunate when I took on the account to be able to identify how gamers talked about us already, and we were able to respond appropriately and try to get good engagement, and we've been able to grow the account pretty substantially in the time since I took it on.
As much as you can answer this, like working for a large corporate account like that.
Yeah, there's
obviously, I would imagine there's a push and a pull, a give and a take, and they've done a pretty good job, I would say, of giving you some freedoms to really, allow you to get, into the gaming community, with that brand. Do you, again, you don't have to go to like real into detail, but do you run into is it okay if I post this kind of stuff, or do they kind of let you just kind of, do your own thing? Do they trust you?
I've been very fortunate to have complete trust from the Walmart team. They've given me full reins to it, and we have mutual respect and absolute trust. And I'm just so thankful for the platform they've allowed me to take control of.
Well, and that has to be, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later on when we talk about Xbox's approaches to social media. But that has got to be, for you on the creative side of things, that's got to be huge, because you don't have to just sit there with your hands tied trying to come up with the next post.
Yeah, that's sort of the ability to, to have the faith of the higher ups is incredibly beneficial for creating a voice, because I mean, that's not to say that I don't clear everything. I clear a lot of stuff that I have to. But for the most part, like a lot of it is what I'm able to create and generate and put out there. And I think I'm lucky because people seem to like it. So I feel very, very fortunate in that regard, for sure.
And for you, you've got to keep your, I mean, you've got to be a part of the gaming community yourself, right? I see, like, we were introduced through Clubhouse. That's I saw you in the Tuesday night gaming meetup that they do with Aaron Greenberg and Jeff Keighley and the Mav Show, and that's kind of how we initially connected, and then we started chatting on Twitter, and so I kind of start to see you everywhere. You were in the spaces yesterday that Xbox was putting on, and so you really have your finger on the pulse of the gaming community. I mean, you have to.
Yeah, I think if you're not passionate about the industry or you don't know anything about it, I don't think you can talk to people. And I think that's kind of the biggest part of running a social account is it's not about like talking at them. You have to talk to them. And in order to do that, you kind of have to be involved in the community to some extent. And I think that's, my passion for games is what's allowed me to, one, have the knowledge, but two, know where to find people that want to engage with the type of content as well. So no, I think it was just kind of a perfect storm of having the opportunity to run this and having faith in from the higher ups and things like that. It was just it's worked out really well so far. I'm absolutely floored every day.
I love it. That's so great to hear. And I mean, and you can see, I can see it even just through the, through our social media interactions or whatever. I mean, the passion comes through, like you're definitely into it. Let's talk about where that passion comes from a little bit. Let's take a trip down memory lane for you. Where'd the passion for gaming come from? What were some of the first games that you fell in love with?
Yeah. Gosh, I think I remember, so I am Canadian, but I lived in the States for 9 years. And when we were living in California, Northridge, California, my dad went out and got a Super Nintendo. And, he brought it home, and I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. He got this game called Donkey Kong Country. And,
yes.
We started playing that, and we trade the controller back and forth. And I think that's really where the passion sort of clicked there. And from then on, I was big into gaming, and especially Nintendo for sure, but as I got older, PlayStation and then Xbox, and I've been very fortunate to come from a background where my family was able to afford these consoles, and I was able to engage with it from an early age, and then continue to do so as I grew up. I'm 30 now, and I've been very fortunate to pursue my passion, because I came from a point where I was able to do all that. I'm rambling now, but yeah, no, it's just so fun to talk about, really. No,
I mean, yeah, I've been podcasting for about 10 years, so there's no such thing as rambling as far as I'm concerned. like we want the goods, we want the stories, you know what I mean? It's good, man. Bings, this is the Xbox Now podcast. What are some of your favorite Xbox games?
Oh, Halo for sure. Oh. I can't wait for Infinite. Oh man, I've been playing through the Master Chief Collection again, just the multiplayer and stuff like that. It's just so good still. Outside of that, does Banjo-Kazooie count?
Hey, I mean, we can count that.
There we go. That's perfect. I replayed that the other week actually on Game Pass, so I was really, really enjoying that game. And then Gears of War, actually, I'll play through every new iteration and stick around. Clay Carmine's the best character ever, I think.
I love it. We're gonna have to get some games together.
I'm down. Yeah.
Halo, I'm all about it. And one of my claims to fame when it comes to Xbox achievements is having every Halo achievement on the 360, including Halo Wars. And so,
really,
yeah, I have all of them.
Super impressive.
And so I want to continue that. But Master Chief Collection it's a 300 to 400 hour. Just focusing on achievements, it's 300 to 400 hours.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's going to be nuts, because some of it's speed running. You have to beat the games on heroic in under 3 hours.
Yeah, I don't like. I remember I got all the achievements in Halo Reach.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, that's awesome. And then like Master Chief Collection came along, and I was like, no, like not a chance. Like it's just such a grind. But I love hopping in and playing those games. And I think now more than ever, like that anticipation is building towards Halo Infinite now. Like we know it's coming out. I think it's just going to be so much fun to play through those games again, and then get ready for Infinite, I guess, in the fall.
So their social teams seem to constantly they kind of keep hinting at a BR. And so what are your thoughts on a Halo BR? Would you be excited about that? Are you over BRs? Like what are your thoughts?
I think I feel like it's a very crowded genre for sure. I think if they were to get into the battle, like I think Halo always brings something different. What I mean by that is like, if you like, Halo doesn't feel like Call of Duty, doesn't feel like Fortnite. Like I feel like each of those games serve like a different niche. Whereas like if Halo were to get into like the Battle Royale arena, I feel like they'd have something entirely different. You know, between the different vehicles and the power ups, stuff like that. I really think that could be something super cool. Because I know that the multiplayer for Halo Infinite is going to be free to play, right?
I believe that's the case, and that then so this will kind of segue us a little bit. We constantly see switches in the background of these
yes, we do
these video streams, right? And so that Microsoft is doing, and you know, a lot of people are speculating Battle Pass, and that's actually like I hit you up on Twitter initially and was like, "Hey, let's talk about this." So we'll jump into it, but while we're on Halo, my thought is that if the multiplayer is free to play, if they end up somehow getting it to be on cloud, which I could see that happening. It seems pretty obvious choice.
Mm-hmm.
That seems like the easiest thing to get onto the Switch, and then to get Master Chief in Smash and have that be the big mashup that they're doing. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I think the Switches are probably first and foremost. Let me lead off with I have no clue what they're doing. I have no inside knowledge on that. If I were to speculate, I would say probably Game Pass or something like that is coming to Switch. And I think that leading off with, I mean, we've seen a pretty strong pattern in regards to Smash Brothers already. You know, we have Banjo and Kazooie in there. We have Minecraft in there. And if you add Master Chief, I feel like you have sort of the three pillars of what that service is. Just retro games, modern games for a more general audience, and then you have, you know, Master Chief, who's the face of Xbox. So I think there might be something to that theory. I think that would be perfect, and the music in that game in Smash would just be so perfect.
Oh my gosh! I could not agree more. I've been picturing this cinematic since the first Battle Pass or the first Fighter Pass for Smash, where Mario hits somebody and then a sticky grenade comes out and just sticks on his nose. And then the monks start chanting, the Halo music starts, and Chief walks out, right? Like that, like that's how I've been picturing it, and hoping that we would see Chief in Smash. Because I mean, we've seen him in other fighting games. He was in Dead or Alive 4. It wasn't Chief, it was a different Spartan, but it was the same armor and everything. So
yeah, and Chief is in Fortnite, like
right, the guy from Fortnite.
Yeah, like you can buy Master Chief in Fortnite on your Nintendo Switch right now. Like
I did.
Yeah, or you could go on, or you could boot up Minecraft on your Nintendo Switch and buy Master Chief skin on. You know, like it's like he's already like that IP's already present on the platform to an extent.
Yeah.
So I mean, like it doesn't seem like much of a leap, especially given that Microsoft's already, you know, 2 characters deep into that game.
So let's transition into Game Pass.
Sure.
With the cloud service just became available in beta on iOS and Windows 10, and you know, with the switches in the backgrounds of the video, a lot of people have been talking about Game Pass, and it's been a fun conversation to have with people, because I used to be on the side that was like I really think it's coming to Switch, right? But at the same time, if that was the case, I mean, the Switch can download one of those games, like
I hear you. Yeah.
There's a hurdle there, right? The other, and then I've been listening to and having banter with Paris quite a bit on Twitter talking about this, and he always goes back to what about the indie titles that are coming out on Game Pass and then also on Switch. And so where do you land right now with the Switch getting Game Pass?
Yeah, well, Paris is such a articulate person. Like he really is so insightful about the gaming industry, and I really do value his input on anything. My take, and I haven't talked to him about it, but my take on it is that Microsoft's goal is to be as accessible as possible. And what I mean by that is, like the initial step is mobile phones, mobile platforms. iOS is something that they're beta testing right now. And they just announced that this past week. So that makes sense. So that's the priority first. And then you roll it out to smart TVs, and you want to be on eventually, if you can launch it through like Apple TV or Roku and stuff like that. Like that gets you into a general audience that can pay for a subscription fee to access these games and stuff via streaming, not unlike Netflix or anything like that. And then you have to think that the next step would be, okay, we need Nintendo and we need PlayStation. My assumption is that PlayStation probably doesn't want to play ball, because I would assume they're building up their own type of thing. Nintendo, on the other hand, has a platform that's already been quite collaborative with Xbox. You can log into your game, like Xbox Live account, from Ori, which is already on Switch, or Minecraft, which is on Switch. So it's not like they don't have that sort of interface already built into several games. And to your point about, like downloading games, I don't know if, I don't think anyone's expecting Halo Infinite per se to run on it. I think the benefit comes from, you have a select few titles that you could implement through Game Pass for download. You could port over Banjo-Kazooie if you wanted to build that library up on Nintendo platforms. You already have, Doom Eternal. You already have Skyrim. You already have Ori. You already have Minecraft. Like, there are select titles you could already install on that platform. No problem. And then you could stream the rest. So I think that's probably what they're doing, and I wouldn't be surprised if they did roll it out, if they added a few more select titles that you could download and play offline. Something like that makes sense to me.
So, for the sake of argument,
sure.
Games like Doom Eternal, those took massive work on the for the compression and the ports.
Totally.
And so I would see that same stuff happening with like Gears 5, like they would have to, but if they say, hey, these smaller titles are available via download and you can play those offline, right? Or at least have to connect and then play them offline, however they work it. But then these larger titles were strictly cloud. I mean, Control has proved to work on, for cloud. Hitman, Resident Evil, right? Those have been cloud titles on the Switch, and that makes it so much easier for Switch owners and for Xbox. And one point that I've heard people talk about a lot is right now you have Game Pass for PC, Game Pass for Xbox, Xbox Cloud Gaming. Right. And those are kind of the three pillars that Game Pass is built on. And you can, if you have Ultimate, you have access to all of them. And so maybe they do Game Pass for Switch as well. And it has more select titles, because the point that I've heard brought up often is the indie titles. If Cyber Shadow's selling for $20 on Switch, but it's available on Game Pass,
and truth be told, that's a very good point, because yes, they would have to curate the library, but they'd have to do it because there are already if you look at Cyber Ninja, for example, there are already deals in place with Nintendo and is it Yacht Club?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's already deals in place. So if Xbox wanted to put that game on their service on Switch, they'd have to sign a deal, like an additional deal. Like it's not just like you're in Game Pass on like for Switch on PC. Like those are two separate entities. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
Game Pass for PC is different from Game Pass on console. And it just has to be, because there are too many like different storefronts that deal with it on PC. In the same way for Switch. So if you do that, like the first thing that you do is like, yeah, you can throw your first parties on that, no problem. Like that's not an issue. But if you want to start bringing in other parties, you need written consent from them first and foremost, and you'd also need Nintendo's approval because it's going to be on their platform. And the third parties might be like, no, actually, I'm going to keep this on the eShop because I'm generating way more money.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, like the attach rate on Switch is like surreal compared to the other platforms. Like it's just so much higher.
Yeah, and I'd be curious to know too, games like Cyber Shadow and The Messenger, a handful of those other games that were like very 16-bit, style games, 8-bit style games. What how does the attach rate on the Switch look like compared to the Xbox or compared to the PlayStation? Because I mean, even though I've had an Xbox One, I bought every game on the Switch because that was just like, that's where I did most of my playing, but it also felt right for some of those games, to be played with a Nintendo controller. Cause some of those games you could grab the Super Nintendo controller that Nintendo sold and run through with that. And it was like, man, this just feels like when I was a kid again, So there's I wonder about that though. Like, what are the sales numbers like for a game like Cyber Shadow versus being on Game Pass? Now, there was an interview that I heard recently with the Outer World devs, and he was talking about how Game Pass was great for their game because it introduced so many more people to it that maybe never would have picked it up. And then if they got heavily invested, once it came off the shop, they had to purchase it to keep going. But it gave them an extended demo that was really good. So I mean, I've been recently. I bought a device called a Backbone so that I could play. I'm waiting for the invite for the Xbox Cloud Gaming.
Me too. Yeah. I'm such an Apple guy.
Yeah, same here. And so
it's such a problem.
I'm just like, come on, I want to try this out so bad. And here's what happened today. I was in my Discord and I posted, would anybody be interested in me starting a MLB The Show, a league for us, right? Because I went through the process a little bit, and so I just wanted to get a general number, because you can start as low as 4 people to as many as like 30, I believe, as many teams as there are. I think that's how it works. And so, but the conversation was, oh, it's not on Switch, I can't play with you. And then somebody else was like, yeah, but if you have an Android, you can play Game Pass for 3 months for $1. I think, I don't know, don't quote me on that. That's just what as I was reading the messages, they were like, I think you can get Ultimate for it may be $1 for a month or 3 months. I can't remember what their deal is, but that was a really interesting conversation to have somebody say, well, I don't have that system, I can't play with you guys, to then have a solution for them right there. Like, you could go spend $60 on a controller and a clip for your phone, or if you have an iPad or like a Samsung tablet or something, to be able to then access all of these Xbox games, or at least 100 of them, not all of them, but I think it's 100 available, and then 50 are going to have touch controls as well. Like, all of a sudden, that opens up such a huge opportunity for more people to get into and we just saw Xbox's, the numbers are 23 million people are signed up for Game Pass at this point. It just struck me as such an like kind of a cool opportunity for gamers, that even if they don't have the hardware, they're still able to experience these games. And as much as I love my physical games and having my collection and all that stuff, just to be able to have more people included in the games that are being talked about and the games that are being played, this is a really good thing. And and like you said, I mean, so you still haven't got the invite, huh, to the cloud?
No, I'm still waiting. Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, hopefully soon. I feel like Canada's a little delayed, to be honest, though.
I got you. I got you. I understand. So, well, I mean, I do hope. I hope the other aspect of Game Pass on the Switch and on the PlayStation is like, on one side, you can look at the numbers and say 80 million people. That seems like a big number. Don't get me wrong. But then when you look at the amount of phones that there are, that seems like a much larger audience for Xbox to go after. But 80 million gamers is already your target audience, right?
Yeah. So I've seen that brought up. Like I obviously the first step, it's an easy pitch to sell mobile users because there's over 1 billion of them.
Mm-hmm.
So like that, yeah, of course. Like if you're moving things up internally, like that's the priority. I totally understand that. But it's the same as like who is subscribing to Netflix through their phone versus who is subscribing to Netflix through their Apple TV, for example, you know, and I would assume there's a significantly higher attach rate to people subscribing through Apple TV than through their iPhone, for example.
And
I think
I guarantee it. Yeah.
So, yeah, but kind of out of the design of the hardware that it's on. Like Nintendo is a gaming system, so a gaming program like Game Pass makes sense because the attach rate on that would be substantially higher. That's not to say that the mobile audience is irrelevant because it's obviously a priority, but I mean, if you were to bring that service to Switch, like you'd have a hard time not selling it there, honestly.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. I think one of the hurdles they might deal with is, does somebody that has Game Pass on their Switch also have to have Nintendo Switch Online in order to access those things, which also benefits Nintendo, right? If they say you have to have Nintendo Switch Online to be able to do Game Pass, but then that also ups the price, you know, for some people that are just going to be getting into it for the first time.
Yeah. I mean, that's an interesting dilemma that I would assume they'd probably figure it out, you know, internally. I don't know though, because like free to play games are free to play on that service, right? I mean, like you could boot up Fortnite if you don't have a Nintendo Online membership, right?
Correct. Yes. Yeah. The free to play stuff.
So I don't know. It might fall that way. I mean, truth be told, I think Nintendo needs to beef up its subscription service, and what I mean by that is like it's $25 for a year. So they might even combine them. Who knows? Like, you know, that could be a partnership opportunity for them. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what they do for that. I feel like it's pretty easy to figure out though on their end. Like if they're going to require it, they're going to ask people for $25. And
yeah.
I don't think that would stop people from buying it.
Well, and at the end of the day, from my understanding, the attach rate of people that have signed up for Nintendo Switch Online is far less than what I was expecting when the last time they put out numbers anyway. I'm sure it's gone. I know it's gone up. I just haven't seen what those numbers are. But I know it's a priority for them. They want people signed up, and Game Pass combined with Nintendo Switch Online, you know, that could be a benefit for Nintendo, because that's what I hear a lot of people saying. How does this benefit Nintendo? It's obvious how it benefits Microsoft.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and inherently, I think even Game Pass on its own without Nintendo Online benefits Nintendo because they're going to take like 30% monthly fee off that.
Oh, for sure.
So they're generating service, you know, like, or whatever their fee is for releasing a product on the eShop, you know, however much they're in for it. And then Microsoft might talk that down or negotiate a different thing because it brings so much value to the Switch, and will probably sell a ton of hardware for Nintendo if that's the route that they choose to go. But there's a number in there somewhere that they're receiving for it on a monthly basis, and that kind of I mean, yeah, there's Nintendo Online, but that also adds to their monthly subscription revenue. So it's just free money.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just kind of makes sense for them. And if you can have Halo on that platform, like you've gained one of the most probably I would say, yeah, the biggest exclusive that Xbox has.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you have it on their platform. And I still think that Xbox doesn't lose anything in that transaction, because if you have an Xbox Series X, you're getting games like MLB The Show.
Mm-hmm.
which isn't part of Xbox Games Pass PC or Outriders, which is the exact same scenario. And it's like there are ways to add benefits to both consumers while allowing them to interact with each other and grow your subscription base.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. This has been a great chat, man. I've enjoyed this because I mean, it's a conversation I have on stream a lot. I talk about it with chat and everything, but I love just kind of picking it apart and really trying to look at it critically and understand both sides. What's been weird for me is just understanding looking at the overall numbers of 80 million. Yes, it's a huge number, but also compared to mobile, like I said, it's such a small number. But that targeted audience is key, I think. So let's pivot a little bit into before we wrap up the Xbox Spaces on Twitter that we were both a part of, and listening to Stein and Greenberg and I can't remember the other gal's name. It might have been Kylie or something. I can't remember. It was the first time I had seen her on Twitter or anything, and so they were talking about the Skittles versus Xbox and how that whole thing went down.
The brand bracket.
Yeah, the brand bracket, the fridge, the lime Skittles.
So funny.
Everything there. So, and one of the things we kind of talked about earlier with the way Walmart Gaming really, or the higher ups allow you to do your job so that you can do it well and then ultimately benefit that brand. Before I listened to this conversation with Stein and Aaron and stuff, it was very apparent to me that the Xbox brand, I mean, to have a brand like that, there'll be days that they'll reply to me like 2 weeks ago, they replied to me twice in a week. Right. And it's just that's kind of unheard of. You know what I mean? I think most of the brands operate okay, here's all my scheduled tweets. This is all for the marketing jargon. Okay, I'm done. What do you want me to do now? Kind of thing. And they seem to be active and involved and in the community. And they also got into the leak of the Series S. But what, from where you are and working in social and everything, what did you think about the bracket and the Skittles and Xbox and the way those two communities collided, but in a really, I mean, it was almost like a breath of fresh air, right? Seeing the friendly competition and the different accounts that got involved, Santa Claus and different things like that. It just seemed like it was a lot of fun, compared to the doom and gloom that's a lot of times on social. It was this is actually really this tug of war is a lot of fun. So what did you think of it?
I love watching it. And I think having contests like that, I mean, ultimately consumers only win. What did we had? Lime Skittles we could have gotten, or Xbox mini fridges. Mm-hmm. And I don't think those would have been priorities that they pushed forward without that sort of competition. So I think inherently there was something to gain either way, which is hugely beneficial. So I love when brands collide like that and they're able to compete and do something like that and create something really meaningful for their fans. I feel like even Skittles, they didn't win, but I feel like they didn't lose either. You know what I mean? How many people were pushing that brand? How many people were supporting them? And how many people want to see lime Skittles now? Everybody won in that.
Yeah. Well, and they said, hey, we already put the order in, so I guess you guys are getting lime Skittles anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, right? But all it did was expedite these things that I think people wanted, or didn't know they want, and then found out that they might happen and then wanted them. But I love that. I love that competition, and I'm really, really happy that everybody involved was able to, do something with it or build their own platform as well. Stein was able to promote things and gain attention, and Aaron was able to do that and build his, everybody involved, the marketers, the brands, everybody won there. So I think that should happen more often. I think it'll probably be an annual thing for Twitter.
Oh yeah.
After the success now. So I'm excited to see how it continues to up the ante between these brands that people seem to like so.
what was interesting too, like the Minecraft community, I guess, got behind Skittles, so like,
Yeah.
they were like, I didn't get to see those interactions, but I'm sure Xbox was like, yo, what's going on here? Like, what?
Yeah, right? Yeah, like, hey guys, yeah. That's hilarious. Yeah, that's so funny. I mean, you always have to have one, right?
Right.
I have the black sheep. So no, it's just so funny, and hearing the stories too. Or Minecraft backed Skittles is just too good.
Listening to the conversations about the fridge, right? How all the stuff that was happening behind the scenes, like, hey, can we get these? Is this something we can do? And then getting the okay, and then Xbox moves forward with it, and they're like, hey, we're gonna do fridges if we win. Like, and it was such a back and forth all day too. This, Skittles was ahead, Xbox was ahead, like it was crazy. But what I appreciated so much about that talk, like listening to those guys and gals talk about this behind the scenes, is it's another level of connection, right? And it's like the connection to a brand isn't all that important, but it's connection to the overall community, right? Like, it feels like they're more in the trenches with us versus like we're just the consumer. Uh-oh.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I heard your mic click out. I was like, uh-oh. Did I lose him?
No, I completely agree with you. I think that's, again, it just goes back to, being in the trenches with you, but it's that relatability factor.
Mm-hmm.
I saw, what did Skittles tweet? They tweeted out something like, we see Skittle Slayer in your bio, and you're like, what's that? And you click Xbox and it's not there. It's Stein. It's Stein's bio. He has Skittle Slayer. And so they call it. So, I mean, like, that level of relatability and them reaching out and knowing who's involved, like, it's just very entertaining.
Yeah.
And that sort of thing only benefits you and the people attached to, your brand and your brand in general. And I just love the way, truth be told, the Xbox account is really what influenced me to push the Walmart Canada Gaming account in the direction that I did, because I saw them just like being funny and being relatable, and I thought, that's really cool. How do we apply that to what I want to do, or what like the situation we have here? So you look at Walmart Canada Gaming, for example, and you go, okay, so I can't be, you mentioned them being very reactive, so I'm like, okay, I probably can't respond to everybody as we get bigger and bigger because I'm only one person. But what I can do is I can build an identity. I can be like, okay, we can be relatable. That's awesome. I really love that component of the Xbox account. I can build on the notoriety that we already have and create an area where we can speculate or discuss things that we hope to see. Okay, we can play with that. And then also we can add a bit of, what gets people talking. It's like, well, people really like I think 90s is in right now, early 2000s, like that sort of era of games is starting to come full circle. You see Crash Bandicoot being rebooted, stuff like that. Okay, well, why don't we talk about that? So we can start building that. So, what you have is like, you have a complex layer or semi-complex layer of things that are memes and hopes and speculation and game announcements and restock news. And you see that you have this account that talks to an intended audience, which is like gamers that have been around for a while, but it also kind of has to, because also if it's too light on it, like you can't really build anything out of it. Like, it has to cater to a niche, and in order to do that, and in doing so, you're able to reach a broader audience. So that's kind of the way I constructed it, is like, I took elements of what I liked from various brands and put a unique spin on it in order to make it stand out, because I didn't want to just be an Xbox clone.
Sure.
And I think that they have like a really, really good thing going, and I'll never be as big as that, because like Walmart Canada Gaming already like puts you into a corner right off the hop, like, but I think that I was able to take the elements that I loved about Xbox and still love about Xbox, and take a little bit from Nintendo and PlayStation, and and reach multiple layers of like what that account is and what that voice is. So that's kind of how I structured it.
I love it. It's great to hear that. I think, like early on when we started seeing brands like Wendy's and stuff, like really kind of like like they'd kind of snap back at like some of the haters, and they would get into it with different brands, and it was like it was funny, like when they would like slam McDonald's or and then they would fire back, and then Arby's would get in the mix, and all of a sudden and it's like you kind of assume that this was probably planned, right? That they probably all got together and were like, hey, let's do this. Or maybe it wasn't, you know what I mean? Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't at all. You don't really know, but either way, again, we get the entertainment from it, right? Which is a great aspect of social media. We don't, it doesn't have to just always be commercial after commercial after commercial after, all the marketing. Here's what game's coming. Here's what, like, to like you were saying, to humanize the brand is really the goal, and that's what Xbox has just done so very well. I mean, even the leak of the S, right?
So good, right?
I mean,
I think they won awards for that, and they should have, rightly so.
They just leaned into it instead of shying away from it. They were like, that monkey meme, right? Like that was it. That was like, they couldn't have nailed it any more than they did. It was like, yeah, cat's out of the bag. He's looking around like, well,
Yeah, it was perfect, right? And like Stein describing like him going through and finding that meme and be like, how's this thing? Like, how's this work, guys? Does this work for you? And them green lighting it. Like, that's just a wild story first and foremost, but like just speaks to the depth of the talent over there and how passionate these people are and how they're able to talk to an audience. And I just think they're in a league of their own, and them winning the Twitter marketing thing is just evident of that enough.
Well, I mean, we talked about, like your situation in a brand like Walmart. I mean, Xbox lost they lost a lot of their fan base from the suits and ties at the beginning of the Xbox One. Like, we're an entertainment box, and the gamers were like, you're not entertaining me at this point. You know what I mean? Like it, and I love the comeback story, right? The Nintendo Switch and the way the Wii U had failed so bad, and looking at the way they've turned it around and the way Xbox is turning it around, but Xbox is doing it on so many fronts, which is what I think is so great. The last thing I want to ask you
sure.
is because there's trolls, right? Every Xbox tweet you see PS5 better, right? Like, and then PlayStation tweets, and like the amount of self-control you must have to not want to just put this person on blast continually. Tell me about it. I want to hear about it.
I'm fortunate that I've been in the industry for over 10 years now. I first started writing. I helped build a site. How I first started was a site called Game Rant.
Oh, wow.
So I helped build that when I was, how old? I was like 18.
Wow.
I started
awesome.
writing there. Yeah. So I was in high school or just finishing high school. And I started building that site, and that started to become really big. And I left there, and I did some other things. I was there. How long was I at Game Rant? I want to say like 8 years. I helped build that site, and then I left Game Rant, and then I started helping out Screen Rant and flesh out their gaming division, which is huge now, and they're doing really well. And then I got an opportunity to help Walmart Canada create some articles for a video game website that they had or they were creating, and it was called Switched On Gamer was their sub handle, and that was built to generate SEO traction and stuff like that, and garner some interest from people who might visit the site. And that went on for a little while, and then the opportunity came up to, hey, Riley, do you want to take control of Walmart Canada Gaming? And I thought, sure. Like, that sounds awesome. Like, and they gave me free reins with it. So it's been really, really, awesome to figure that all out, as you get older and older, and, I just have the social experience of running the Game Rant social accounts, and, carrying that on with you to Switch On Gamer, and then Screen Rant, and eventually Walmart Canada.
So the trolls aren't, you're just like, they're just noise.
To your point, I know I went off there. To your point, no, I've always been around people who are angry.
Yeah.
And in this point, and like right now, like I think people are really passionate about the console restocks.
Oh yeah, so you're dealing with. So you've got to deal with that. Where are they? Tell me where they are.
I know, and let me just assure everyone that it's not like we're hoarding them. Like if we have them, we want to sell them, right? So, we're very fortunate. We have a great partnership with Xbox and PlayStation, and we're able to bring in supplies, fairly frequently, I think. But the demand is still insane. And so we're trying our best to keep up. And all I see when people comment or they want something like that, or they're upset, is I just see passionate people, and I try to put myself in their shoes. And I understand that, if I didn't have a PS5 now, if I was really excited for Returnal, for example, which comes out, pretty imminently, then I might start getting like a little upset. And I don't like bite my tongue as often as I think people think I might. I feel sympathetic, and I want to help them get their console. So I hope that, I don't take it personally, because it's really not about me. And I think it's about being able to take a step back, remove yourself from it, because like at the end of the day, do I put a lot of myself or my ideas into Walmart? Yeah, but I'm also not Walmart. Like I'm a social media manager, and this is my job, and I need to be able to take a step back every once in a while and realize that, it's not about me. It's about the brand, or it's about, people who are really passionate about getting their consoles, or really passionate about another issue that they're having, and just helping them get through that, or like basically waiting for restocks and stuff like that. And that's all I can really do. I can only control what I can control, essentially. So I don't let it bother me. It doesn't bother me the way that I think people think it does.
I see. I love it. That's a great answer. I mean, it's a great answer. You can't control them.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I went on a bit of a tangent initially about the other stuff.
Like I said, bro,
me, but yeah,
I love it. I mean, that info, right? Hearing a little bit more about your background. I mean, that's incredible. That's incredible. And I mean, ultimately, it got us to the answer anyway, because
the whole point of bringing up my past was that I've dealt with people telling me that I was stupid my entire life. So it's okay. It's all right. I'm doing all right.
The internet's a beautiful thing, and from somebody on the internet, man, you're not stupid. All right. So
thanks, man. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, Riley, let everybody know where they can connect with you if they'd like to.
Sure. Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at the Riley Little, or you can follow Walmart Canada Gaming.
There you go. Guys, you can find me everywhere at N64Josh. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you're watching this on YouTube, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye now.